Asylum Inc. presents Hunter's Guide, The Corruption of the Wilds. Once the forests whispered lullabies, now they scream. But you wouldn't hear it, not with human ears. Not until the moss begins to bleed, the roots coil like tendons, and the trees start watching back. What you'll witness tonight isn't a plague in the way your sterile sciences define it. No, this is rot with intent, decay with direction, an intelligence, old, patient, and very, very tired of being ignored. Call it nature's revenge, if that soothes you. I call it something worse. I call it the corruption of the wilds. The natural world, ever a theatre of adaptation, bears no precedent for the grotesqueries birthed within the contaminated zones. Here, evolution has not advanced, it has curdled. In these pockets of blighted earth, where the very soil whispers of wrongness, fauna succumb to transformations that defy biology and sanity alike. Once familiar deer now roam with jagged ossifications erupting from their flanks, bone turned outward like splintered armor. Birds take to the skies with too many eyes, their gaze roving in unnatural synchrony. Wolves, if they can still be called that, move with spasmodic contortions, their limbs elongated and twisted as though operated by marionette strings pulled from some unseen realm. Some changes are subtle, skin-deep shifts in texture or hue. Others are so monstrous they defy rational classification. Yet all share a singular, horrifying characteristic, a fevered, senseless aggression. It is as if something deeper than instinct, something foreign and invasive, drives them forward in relentless fury. But the true blight lies not in the beasts, but in what litters the land around them. Dotting the landscape like tumors of divine neglect are calcified biological sacs, repellent structures fused into the trunks of trees, embedded in shallow soil, or clinging obscenely to derelict walls. These hideous growths, mottled and brittle to the touch, pulse faintly beneath their hardened shells, as though nursing something unspeakable within. They are invariably found near zones of peak mutation. The implication is unmistakable, yet maddeningly unclear. Are they gestation pods, feeding chambers, wombs forged by something not of this earth? No attempt to pierce or extract a specimen has succeeded. Every incision, every probe has provoked a violent defense, nearby beasts descending in a frenzy as if summoned to protect the sac itself. It is not merely a structure, it is guarded. And the question that remains, unspoken yet ever present, is this: if these are wombs, what, in the name of all that is still sane, is waiting to be born? First-hand account, it watches through their eyes. I found the first body slumped near the husk of the old ranger station. At first, I thought it was a fox, until I got closer. Its pelt was a ragged tapestry of fur and flayed skin, patchworked by rot and raw exposure. The limbs, gods, the limbs were elongated, drawn out like soft clay pulled by unseen, eager hands. They bent in ways no living thing should bend, but it was the eyes that stopped me cold. They weren't fox eyes anymore. What stared back at me from that ruined skull was something far older, far colder. Ocular orbs set deep in blackened sockets, glassy and too human. And yet not. They watched me. I know they did. I felt them sliding across my skin as I crept past, a gaze not of instinct, but of purpose. And then, as if on cue, the forest exhaled its last breath. No wind, no whisper of leaves, just a thick, stifling hush, pregnant with malice. That's when I saw it. Clinging to the bark of a long, dead pine was the sac, a grotesque chrysalis of bone-white calcification, ridged and cracked like some ancient marine fossil, yet undeniably alive. Beneath its hardened shell, something squirmed, a silhouette of fluid motion, shifting as if in fevered sleep. I should have fled. My instincts screamed it. But curiosity, that cursed, undying itch, I stepped closer. The world reacted. The forest lit up with eyes, dozens of them, twin pinpricks glowing in the gloom. Hidden beneath the ferns and brush, behind brambles and bark. Deer, rabbits, and others, misshapen things I couldn't name. They didn't move. They only watched. Then I reached out. Fool that I am. My fingertip brushed the sack's surface. It shivered beneath my touch, and from somewhere deep within the woods came a sound. A wet, clicking cadence, like mandibles grinding against bone. They charged. The spell broke, and I ran. Branches clawing at my coat, lungs burning, the pounding of warped limbs behind me. And in the chaos, just as I tripped and crashed through the underbrush, I heard it. Not aloud, not with ears. A voice in the hollow of my skull. Guttural, mirthless, impossibly old. Laughing. Final warning. The land itself is changing. This is no mere dance of mutation. What festers in the deep rot of those blighted zones transcends natural evolution. The corrupted wildlife, those malformed silhouettes that skulk through twisted groves and black hollows, do not simply endure these changes. They embrace them. Creatures once driven by primal instinct now act with a grim deliberation. Packs of beasts move in eerie coordination, responding to disturbance not with panic, but with something unnervingly close to strategy. This is not hunting. It is guarding, and what they guard, what pulses at the corrupted heart of these lands, are the sacks. Calcified, grotesque things, neither wholly organic nor entirely mineral. Their outer shells resemble bone turned to fossil, but they pulse faintly, twitching with something embryonic writhing within. These structures are not accidents. If there is an intelligence behind the corruption, something ancient, calculating, then these are its roots, driven deep into the world like parasitic tumors. Through them, the land is twisted, repurposed, reclaimed. And so the question festers in the minds of those who've seen too much. Is this a sickness or a design? What if these sacks are not merely spreading contamination? What if they are wombs, hatching vessels crafted not to corrupt, but to create? If that is the truth, then we are not witnessing isolated events. We are bearing witness to a seeding. And whatever planted these biological abominations, it is still watching, still waiting. For what purpose, we cannot say. But with each passing cycle, the mutations grow more aggressive, more refined, less like wild mistakes and more like iterations. If this is an experiment, then it draws toward its conclusion. And when that final form is born, it may already be far too late to halt what follows. Do you feel it now? The itch in your lungs? The taste of metal beneath your tongue? That's not your imagination. That's root breath. You see, this isn't merely infection. It's reclamation. A slow, sprawling reclamation of everything that once thought itself separate from soil. Civilization is a thin bark, my dear patients, and beneath it, something green and furious stirs. So tread carefully next time you walk among the trees, and if the vines seem to follow you home, don't water them. If you found yourself stirred, unsettled, or just a bit more wary of shadows, consider offering a like to feed the entity that powers these tales. And should you subscribe, you may yet survive to hear the next whisper from the void.